Oh yeah, I agree. So I think it'll be helpful to introduce a distinction here that I get from Jonathan Edwards, and this is interesting because the discovery of this distinction by Andrew Fuller in his reading Jonathan Edwards helped launch the modern missions movement, because it helped him overcome hyper-Calvinism. How long do I have? I don't know how much of a history lesson I want to give here. Okay, I'll be quick. The hyper-Calvinists in Europe believed that you shouldn't give the gospel to people who weren't elect because they were unable to respond. And so this issue of ability was at play there. That was really important. And Fuller read this distinction in Edwards. It was what Edwards called the distinction between natural ability and moral ability, or actually he was talking about inability. Natural inability and moral inability. A natural inability is an inability where even if you wanted to do it, you can't. So maybe I really want to get up out of this chair, but I'm chained to it. That chain constitutes a natural inability. A moral inability is very different. It's you could do it if you wanted to, but you can't do it because you don't want to. Everybody get the distinction? So, and Edwards argued that the inability of the depraved sinner is a moral inability, not a natural inability. And the discovery of that distinction by Andrew Fuller helped overcome the nonsense of hyper-Calvinism and launch the modern missions movement. And I would say that a similar launching maybe in a contemporary apologetics movement and maybe in a contemporary Christian philosophy movement might be at play here in utilizing this distinction. I would say the unbeliever is unable to fully acknowledge and grasp the truth of God the way he ought to, but it's not a natural inability, it's a moral inability. It's because he doesn't want to. He could if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to. And in virtue of him not wanting to, he can't. And that seems to be what Paul's saying in Romans 1. Because if it was a natural inability, then it wouldn't make any sense. If Paul was saying, they're not able to see the truth, therefore they're without excuse, that wouldn't make any sense. His argument is, they are able to. They could if they wanted to, but they don't want to. Their foolish hearts are darkened. So to draw a distinction here, would you say that a person's mind in Scripture is related to, it would fall under the jurisdiction of his soul or his body? A person's mind?
Person's mind.
A soul.
Soul.
Yeah.
Because the effects of sin in Scripture pertain to the soul primarily. So if there are effects of the sin in the soul, it would follow to me that they are across all of it. And I believe that we have Scripture here per what I would say Romans 1 is saying, that includes the mind and the activity of the mind.
Sure,
within that.
But what I would argue using Edwards' distinction, and I think this is what Edwards is arguing also in making that distinction, is that the infection of sin on the mind and on the will is indirect through the affections. So the affections are directly affected by sin in our hatred of God, and through that corruption, our mind and our will are indirectly affected by sin.
Where would you begin? I don't know if you have these at hand. Where would you draw the distinction